Hello, everybody. Welcome to the best and worst of Walt Disney World, brought to you by Dreams Unlimited Travel, experts at helping you plan the perfect Disney vacation. Be sure to visit them on the web at dreamsunlimitedtravel.com. I am your host, Ryno Clavin, and this week I am joined by none other than Deni Sunderly.
Hi, guys.
And this week we are going to be doing a thing where we're going to go and tell you what we feel like is the best attraction in each one of the 4 Walt Disney World theme parks. Now, we didn't discuss what we think they are ahead of time, so they might be the same, they might not be the same. We're not sure yet. We wanted to keep each other on pins and needles. So, and I'm gonna say that we're gonna try and look at it as not necessarily our favorites, but what we feel like might be the best that you should go and do in terms of being like, okay, you can only do one thing in this park. What is that one attraction? And for me, it's going to be like a combination of like innovation with storytelling. Like, what's the most Disney thing that you could do in that park? So, Deni, what park do we want to start at?
I think we have to start in the Magic Kingdom.
Okay, Magic
I
Kingdom.
think we go for the jugular here.
I'm going to let you go first.
Okay. So, in light of what we're doing here, the fact that we are, hey, if you've got one afternoon in the Magic Kingdom, what's the one attraction we would say that you have to do? It's not my favorite attraction, but I believe it's the one you need to do. I've got to go with Haunted Mansion.
Woo! That's what I was going to say, too. That's funny.
Excellent. I mean, when you just look at it, the history, the legacy, and the heritage behind the rides, some of Walt Disney's guys that he leaned on all the time put their creative efforts into it, from Yale Gracie to Claude Coates to Exitensio, and on and on and on. Harper Goff's artwork, like everyone had a hand in creating this masterpiece. And I would say, hey, if you want iconic Disney magic, you need to go on Haunted Mansion.
Yeah, 100%. I've definitely said, over the years, over and over again, that I think the Haunted Mansion is really an example of like I'm combining your name with Disney. Is Disney's storytelling at its best, like in terms of attraction, where it is a combination of innovation with like special effects, but also like it really brings you into another world. And I did do an episode of the best and worst where we did an attraction makeover, and we made over the attraction. We were talking about how the story on the Haunted Mansion may not be like as a whole very cohesive, and it's more individual vignettes of like a spooky mansion per se, and that's fine. We love that, but I think it's a combination of it being like the Omni Mover, the fact that you get your own Doom Buggy, the fact that there are effects in there that I still don't understand how the human mind perceives. Pepper's ghost with the light and the dancing mannequins is crazy to me. Let alone and people sometimes just, I feel like, are like toward this one, but the bus on the
Yes.
bookshelves, like how the eyes follow you. Like I still remember being a kid and seeing on the Disney Channel when they explained how that worked, and just being like, I don't understand. And now I am 35 years old, and I still don't completely understand how the mind perceives it. And who thought of that? Who was like sat there one day and went, I got this really cool idea I want to do. We invert the bus so it looks like it's kind of following you, and like there's so much there, and those effects now are 50 years old in terms of like the original Haunted Mansion stuff, and it's still, I think, very impressive in terms of that. And how many attractions are there that have been around that long and that have become that beloved, but not beloved in like a cult classic way, more beloved in the terms where it deserves that respect and that lore and the awe that it gets. And I think this one is one of those. It's one of those things where you're just like, it's kind of perfect. Here and there we'll tweak it along the way, but it stands the test of time, and it does it so well. So
Yeah.
I completely agree.
And I know, like, the the original Imagineering work that got poured into Disneyland first. I get that, but we just get the trickle down of it, and they have plussed it. I feel like they've plussed it up, like when they did the refurb in 2007, and they gave us the Escher stair room, and then we've got the extended queue that has interactive stuff. Of course, not in use right now because we don't want to be putting our fingers all over stuff, but I mean, I think that just extends the storyline and just makes it a little bit richer and deeper. So that's the one.
Yeah, I also think our Constance in the attic is better than the Disneyland one. I think her face is a little more three-dimensional than the Disneyland one. It might not be true. I'd have to watch them back to back, but that's how I feel. But yeah, I agree. I think that's a do not miss if you come to if you're like, I got one thing, that's the one you got to be going on. So I'm gonna move us over to Epcot next. Okay, in terms of attractions, I don't know. I know Epcot has some beloved attractions like Soarin'. People love Test Track. You know, you've got Frozen Ever After over there. In terms of attractions, I feel like Epcot honestly falls short. So the renovation or the reimagining and the phase it was going through, and hopefully it still gets the love and attention it deserves and doesn't fall by the wayside because of the COVID stuff. But I think this park needs a little oomph. But if for me personally, I mean, I love to eat and drink there, but I think that if you are going to this park and there is one attraction that you say, okay, well, what was the one thing you did? I think it should be Spaceship Earth.
Oh, okay.
I know that's not everybody's going to agree with me, but I think in terms of it being, I feel like it's impressive because you look at this giant spherical, like this ball right above you, and there is a whole attraction, a multi-tiered, multi-level attraction inside of that. So one, how many attractions can you literally sit there and say, like, I can see the entirety of the exterior all around it? You know, there really aren't a lot. You really kind of see the one, and then the rest of it's like backstage or hidden or whatever. And then on top of that, it tells a really interesting story about communication through the ages, and I feel like it does it in really fun and sort of dynamic settings. Is it aged a little bit? Yes. I am not one of those people who thought, like, when they were going to do the reimagining or the whatever they were doing to it, that is now put on hold for who knows how long. I wasn't one of those people who's like, no, don't do it. I still think it deserves, that sort of a thing. Don't ever take the attraction out of there, but like changing it, that's literally the story it's kind of telling along the way, is how communication changes, and the ride itself is a form of communication and storytelling. And I think I don't know. I think it's kind of, there are a lot of dark rides at Disney World, but I do think this one is kind of stand out. Yes, it's not as exciting as maybe like the Haunted Mansion or some of the other options you have at Epcot, but I do think it's, for me, the one that I would recommend to somebody. But Deni, what would you recommend? If you say Journey to Imagination, I'll cut your feed.
I'm not going to say Journey, but I almost want to change mine to Spaceship because that's not the first one I thought of, which is odd because I love it so, but yeah. But for me, and I know it was originally in California. I know it came over to us. It was gifted to us, but it's Soarin'. It's definitely, and yes, it's soaring around the world now, and it is what it is. Please ask for B, row 1, just do it. But that's definitely the one that I would say, hey guys, if you have one afternoon, you can only ride one ride, go to Soarin', because it is something that is accessible to everyone. I feel like everyone, and much like Spaceship Earth, I would put Spaceship Earth in that category as well. But, it can be grandma's favorite ride, and then it can really impress your 10-year-old if you don't tell the 10-year-old what's about to happen, and they don't watch, and they don't watch the pre-show to see the fact that it's going to lift off the ground. It is impressive on all levels, and there's a reason why guests clap after the attraction is done when you're coming back down to the floor. It's because it deserves it. And even, I mean, I did love Soarin' over California gets my vote over Soarin' around the world, even though it's actually seeing the Eiffel Tower there, that I had tears in my eyes the first time I rode that, and there was the Eiffel Tower. But guys, that's the one I would tell you to go to if you just had limited time in Epcot.
Yeah, I did teeter on that one. Like that when I think of Epcot, that kind of is the first one that does pop into my mind. I guess it was kind of, I thought about the simplicity of it, but also there's something beautiful in the simplicity of it, how it does make you feel like you are, essentially hang gliding, like flying, not hang gliding, but you are definitely have that feeling that you're in the air. I mean, you are literally in the air, but like the sway of the seats and all that sort of stuff and the smells. And there is something really impressive to me about how if you just break it down and look at it, you're like, okay, well, it's kind of just a swing set that you're in front of an IMAX screen, but it's another one of those really kind of amazing things that Disney does with being able to take these kind of things and transport you and make you feel, like you said, you had tears in your eyes, like you definitely feel things while you watch it, and like even if it inspires you to be like, oh, I really want to, like, I want to get out and go somewhere, I mean, if you're not from Orlando, Florida, you have gone somewhere, but you know what I mean? You want to like see some of these places, that are there. And I do agree with you. I think the thing for me is that Soarin' over California has a lot less, digital like CGI work in it. So that like the modern person's eye can detect that so much better than it used to be able to. So that I feel like it won't stand that test quite as well as the original one did, because it was a lot more like practical things. But yeah, I think that's an honorable one to have chosen.
Thank you.
Let's go to Animal Kingdom. I want to hear what you have to say at Animal Kingdom. What's your one do not miss experience at Animal Kingdom?
It's gotta be Kilimanjaro Safaris.
Oh, I was gonna say the same thing. Okay.
Winning. Yeah, I mean, totally. It is, again, it's accessible to someone is going to enjoy it. It's going to be awe-inspiring to everyone in the family. And how often do we get to interact and get that up close with these amazing creatures? Well, you get to here. And I understand it's kind of rough if you're a photographer and they're not going to stop that Jeep, that van, very often for you to get that perfect shot of the giraffe. But it's just amazing to simply see the giraffes right there and to get up close. Like when my mom came down to go to Animal Kingdom for the first time, that was one that I knew I needed to get her on, because she's not going to ride the thrill rides. My go-to would be one of the thrill rides, but I knew that she would be awestruck, and she was.
Yeah, it's definitely one of those. It's funny because when I was a kid, I mean, I guess I was like 13 when Animal Kingdom opened, but we didn't. The last trip we had come is like kind of a big family. I mean, I've moved here now, and since people have come to see me, so we've done like trips together. But before I lived here, I actually had not been to Animal Kingdom until I came for my grad night, and it's funny because just the perception in my mind was it was just like a safari. It was like whatever, and we had done a safari like other places. I know this is crazy to sound. I had never left the United States. So you're like, where are you going on safari in the United States? But I think that the Six Flags in New Jersey or somewhere in New Jersey had like a drivable safari that you just did in your own car. And I remember doing that and thinking like, okay, well, I've been to a zoo. I've been driven on safari. Why do I need to go to Animal Kingdom? Like what would I go there for? And now, having since like been on that safari like hundreds of times, there is something really special to that. And not everybody, these are animals that you're not going to see in your everyday life. It is a little bit different than a zoo, yet I do have like morality. The older I'm getting, the more I have more like moral issues with zoos and stuff like that. But of the zoos that are out there, Animal Kingdom is trying to be a conservation area. So these animals, like the rhinos, are being bred because they're an endangered species. So they try and work with the other organizations of zoos, which I forget the name of, the abbreviation of. It has a Z in it. I know that for zoo.
Yes.
It's like 3 letters,
AZA,
right? Yeah, the AZA, right? Isn't
I
that
think.
it?
Yes, I think so.
American Zoo Association?
Yeah,
Something like
Zoological
that?
Association.
Yeah, okay. I was like, I
Technically.
know it was like a weird letter thing, but yeah, and so they are actively trying to, like, once, there's, they've successfully bred some of these animals, they bring them over, they try and release them into the wild, and sometimes it goes well, sometimes it sadly doesn't, but like, so I do appreciate the efforts that they take, and there's something really cool about that, about knowing that you're not just at like, a zoo that's just like, oh, these animals just go into a cage and they're just in that cage until people come out and like then they live and die here. It's a little bit different at Animal Kingdom, and how they've kind of created this landscape is really amazing, because I feel like, especially at Animal Kingdom, it is so incredible because you have to think that somebody chose every tree to be there. Somebody said, I want the road to go like this. I want the path to be like this. This is how we're going to keep the animals separated. This is how these animals can be together. Like that sort of a thing. And it really is, like, if you just look at it from that standpoint, it's really impressive, but not to mention the breadth and scope of all the different types of animals you're going to see. I don't know how many times I've been so close to a rhino, and not on the safari. I've gotten to pet the rhino for the experience that you can do, but it's incredible. Like for some people, you're never going to get this close to these sort of animals like this, and so I do think, I know some people are like, no, Pandora, like, no, get out of here.
Yeah, we understand Pandora. We get the appeal and all of that. And if you have more time in your afternoon, then Pandora it up.
Yeah.
But if you've only got one, head to the safaris.
Yeah.
I love listening to the people in the truck with you and the kids who are just, falling over themselves over getting to see what they're seeing here. And even with the shower curtains, the clear vinyl shower curtains now that we have between rows, it's, whatever it takes to get people out and about and seeing those animals. And it's always a different attraction. Like, you think you know what you're going to see next, and it's an animal. It may do something, it may not. So it's a little different every time.
I also like going on what you said, those moments when you like the driver even gets excited. They'll be like in that regular monotone, but then they'll be like, oh, this is happening. You're like, ooh, I know this is something special. So it's really cool. Now we have one park left. I feel like everybody probably knows the answer of what we're going to say, but we are going to pop over to Disney's Hollywood Studios, and we're going to talk about the best attraction at Disney's Hollywood Studios. But before we do, Denny and I said that, because in my mind, Disney's Hollywood Studios has the least amount of attractions, even though honestly, it's probably Epcot, but like Epcot has a lot of like videos, a lot of like theater experiences and whatnot. So that numbers to numbers, it might not be true, but I always get the impression that Hollywood Studios doesn't have a bunch. But we are thinking about it, like, they, even with that limited number, they have some of the best. Like they've come a long way in the last couple of years. And I really was thinking, because somebody asked me, what's my favorite Disney park? And I feel like it changes all the time. Like I do honestly believe that the Magic Kingdom is probably the best, but I was thinking, like, from my perspective as a local who gets to go a lot, what's the park? And I'm like, I've been spending a lot of time at both Animal Kingdom and Hollywood Studios. But the thing about Hollywood Studios is, like, I don't even feel like I really have to do something there. I don't know. I don't feel like that at Animal Kingdom either. But I have been saying I've been spending a lot of time at Hollywood Studios. So there are a bunch of big attractions here, but there is one do not miss attraction, obviously. And I think it is the best attraction at Walt Disney World. In terms of all those things I said about Haunted Mansion earlier, I think this attraction encapsulates all of those. But I'm going to let Deni say what she thinks the number one attraction at Disney's Hollywood Studios, do not miss, is. Deni, what do you think it is?
Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway.
I am actually shocked right now. I thought you were going to say Rise of the Resistance, so I built this whole thing up.
Oh,
So I'm
no.
not.
Sorry.
I'm not. I. You know what? Tell us why.
Okay, so I will tell you how close this was. Literally, I have Rise written down here on my notes. But as we started filming and I'm really thinking it through, I'm going, no, it's got to be Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway, because you get some of the trackless effect and some of the feel of Rise, but it's, again, I kind of want to look at accessibility as far as, something. And when I say that, yes, accessible for everyone in regard to mobility, but also it's accessible as in someone who of all ages. Like if you have 3 generations in your touring party for the day, and you want Grandma and Bobby Sue to all enjoy their trip on this attraction, whichever one it is, I really think that Minnie and Mickey's Runaway Railway offers something for everyone. It's the technology element of it that is just the design that is just kind of, it's a little breathtaking. Like, wait a second, this scene was just this, and now in a heartbeat, it's something completely different. And it keeps you guessing the entire time. You don't know what's going to happen. I mean, you hope it ends up well. It's a Disney attraction, so hopefully there's a happy ending. And I think that it's something for everyone. Now, is it my personal favorite? No, it is not. But that's
I think you make a really good argument here for it. I'd also argue it's Mickey Mouse. So you're there at Disney World, and he is the mascot of the Walt Disney Company. It all started with a mouse, and where else are you going to go on a Mickey Mouse attraction? So I think your accessibility comment does make a really strong point, and I do agree with. I think there's great rewritability in it, even though we're talking about only being able to do it, just the one attraction. But, and yeah, I think there's a lot to see. I think there is really awesome technology. I think that Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway is next generation dark ride, like that not only next generation, but that the technology and the way that they chose to tell the story there can then be implemented and retroactively put into some of these classic dark rides to really bring them forward and give them brand new life in a whole new way. So like imagine, I mean, we don't have the attraction here anymore, but Disneyland's Snow White Scary Adventures, if they added some of this technology into there, keeping the base ride the same, it could really pop that thing up. I mean, it might make it too scary for some people, but
scary.
but like it is. I was gonna say I'm still sticking with mine, which is Rise of the Resistance, but you do make such a good argument with the accessibility, because I do think the idea that they are both original stories within their IP, but the difference being that Mickey Mouse has adventures you don't need to know anything about in order you very easily like, I know Mickey Mouse, Mickey, Minnie, and Goofy, whatever. And Star Wars, you don't really need to necessarily know a ton. Like you'll still get the gist of it, but I see what you're saying. Where like you still, I think, have to have a basic understanding of what the Force is and that sort of stuff. So that, I guess it would get a ding for that, but I'm still saying it because of because of the way the story is told. There is nothing like it anywhere, any attraction, anywhere. That the fact that it kind of has a story that starts so much further than when the traditional ride system starts, and makes it more than just being like that story in the queue, or whatever. That is something that pulls you into this world, which arguably Mickey and Minnie does the same thing. But like it is, I think there's just so many breathtaking moments in Rise of the Resistance, but also that I feel like it is one of those rides where not only is it telling a story, but you are the story. Like you are the character. You're the main character in this story, and it's all geared toward you, and they're talking to you, and like you are participating. And I just, there were so many moments that I'm like, so that's, and I don't want to say too much because it's still newer and, spoilers and all that sort of stuff, but You do make a really strong argument. I'm
But
not changing mine though.
and yeah, I don't blame you. You shouldn't change. You shouldn't change it at all because I mean, like I said, I had Rise written down when we started filming. So that is that and the Tower of Terror are just my favorite experiences in those parks. In that park.
Yeah, I was gonna say there's a lot of fun to be had because you have Mickey's, you have Rise of the Resistance. I mean, the theming in Tower. Rock and Roller Coaster I think is one of the best, if not the best coaster they have, and then Slinky Dog is like probably for me either the best or the second best. It's between those two, and I know people love Everest and stuff like that, but the backwards motion makes me a little sick. But it's there's stuff to do over there, I guess.
Yeah.
I mean.
It's hard. It's hard.
Yeah.
If you only had one, I would, that would be frustrating to walk in that park and only have time to ride one attraction, which is, I mean, that, like you said, it's come a long way. This is a really big deal because we used to tease that, it's got 4 attractions. Well, now it has a little something for everyone, and you do need some time to be able to hit it all.
Yeah, and to go to my favorite attraction, Baseline Tap House. But
That's right.
Well, that was an interesting discussion. So I very much appreciate you having this discussion with me, Deni.
Well, thank you for inviting me along for the 4 attractions for the ride.
Oh, of course. I can't wait till we do the flip side of this and we say which one we think is the worst attraction at each one of the parks. That'll be interesting too. But of course, these are just our personal opinions. And there are some of you that might be screaming at the screen or in your car or wherever you listen or watch the show that we just didn't even consider one of yours. So we would love to know what those are. Please let us know in the comments of this video what you feel like the best attraction is at each one of the Disney parks is for you. It's just a fun conversation. And the next time that you are planning a Disney vacation, again, we do ask that you please consider booking with Dreams Unlimited Travel. They are experts at helping you plan the perfect Disney vacation. It will cost you nothing extra to book with them. And it's just you help support the show, all the content that we produce, the shows, the vlogs, the site, all that fun stuff out there. And I'm still just so taken back by this conversation. Deni has ripped me in everything I knew and believed has been torn. I've been torn in half now.
The fabric of your existence.
Yeah, I'm having an existential crisis now.
Sorry.
It's Mickey Mouse versus, Kylo Ren. I don't know, so.
How brave.
I would say this. Yeah, I was just going to say, I would say this conversation. How brave.
How brave.
Oh, picking your favorite attractions at all Disney parks. How brave. Well, thank you everybody out there for listening and watching. If you like this video, please hit that thumbs up button. It helps with the algorithm. I hate asking people to hit thumbs up buttons, but it is one of those things nowadays. We live in that sort of technology where if you don't hit it, we can't share it with everybody. So it's much appreciated if you do hit it. And if you love this kind of content that we put out, subscribe to the channel. There's tons of stuff on here. And don't forget about our other YouTube channel where all of our in-park content is going to be. That is youtube.com/WDWinfo. That is going to do it for us today. Thank you all for listening and watching. But we will return with another episode of the best and worst of Walt Disney World. Goodbye, everybody.